Hello cuties, welcome back. Today we're diving back into Warhammer 40k with the monster Dorn tank with some resin upgrades. When I picked this up, the first thing I thought of was an M60 or an M48. Like this one here. This is what I'm going for inspiration, with that massive spotlight. With some additional armour like this kit here. I'm not going to teach you to suck eggs. The instructions are relatively easy to follow. It is a Games Workshop kit, nice and simple. The instructions are great. There's not too many parts. I mean, there's a lot of parts. There's a lot of different options you can use. But we're going to go for a fairly basic build with some conversions and some upgrades to fit it in with my Catachan guard army, which are very themed from the US Army in Vietnam, which is, let's be honest, where the Catachan Guard are really inspired from, /Rambo/Commando. So, we start putting this kit together. It's really, really nice and simple. So many different options that you can use. And honestly, after building some of the scale model kits that I have been building recently for other videos, it was an absolute pleasure to build. Definitely didn't swear as much as I did when I was building the KV, especially with the tracks, because there's like 8 pieces per track set rather than 800. Other than when I made that obvious mistake there and cut off 2 opposite sides because I apparently can't read numbers. As I'm going through here, I've got a rough idea of what I want this tank to look like. I haven't really planned it, which realistically I probably should do, but ADHD brain goes, no, get the clippers and the glues out and start playing about with it and see where it goes. So I'm thinking about what I want to do to make this tank look like it's been fighting for a long time. Add in some different extra bits to make it my own and make it fit my army. Stop putting the hull together. Let's not talk about the massive hole in the bottom of it. There are some great STL kits you can get to fill those in if you really want to. I might do that for my next one because I have bought a second for a Krieg themed build. I'm going to turn it into a tank destroyer and put some spaced armour on it like a Sturmgeschütz or a Stug. One of the things that I wanted to do to add a little more interest in the model and make it my own was add a little extra damage and a little difference to the exhaust mounts on the back. So what I did is I got some really thin copper foil, I annealed it, heated it up, and then bent it into place so it sits over those exhaust ports that are already there, so I can bend them up and just add an extra little bit of difference and change. Now for the fun part. We're going to add some realistic armour texture. Now I know that these tanks aren't made out of steel, but I thought it was going to make a nice little difference. Add a little bit of texture, a little bit of depth and a little bit of interest in the model once we painted it up. So I'm mixing up the Tamiya putty with some Tamiya extra thin cement, mixing that down with an old crappy brush, and then stippling that all over the turret and the front part of the chassis. I missed footage of the chassis and the hull, but it's me doing that on that turret. So stipple that all over, and once that dries and it bonds in with that plastic, it's going to add a really nice textured finish. Then, to kind of flatten it off, tidy it up a little bit, make it look a little more realistic, sand that down with some sandpaper, and that's going to give a nice overall finish to that model. Take your time with it. You can play about with it a fair bit before it dries, and use reference photos. There are some great reference photos of tanks with these cast turrets and cast hulls. You can see the hits and the dents where they've been cast in moulds, especially the old Russian tanks from World War II, because they were cast very quickly and not the best quality. So the casting process, you can see all those pits and those dents. Then we move on to this lumping great torch from Legend 1/35 scale and 48 upgrade kit. And again, should have planned this out, but start fiddling about with it. Obviously clear the flash off and then wash it in some warm soapy water so you don't get any mould release on that, which is going to make it a nightmare for that paint to stick. And then I work on mounting it. Now I had to chop off and flatten down the bit where you mount the coaxial autocannon, but rule of cool is always the best rule in my book. I want this to look like it fits in with a theme for my army, and I added a rectangular box. I think it's from Admech, not too sure, that I found in my bits box, which meant I was able to mount and pin on the searchlight. Now, to make it look like it was powered, using one of the mounts for the little searchlight that comes with the kit, I've just taken some wire from an old PC part and stuck that in, pinned it into the back of the torch so it looks like it's nice and powered. And again, adds a little bit of interest to the kit, a little bit of difference to the kit, so it's going to stand out if it's ever sat next to another Dorn tank, for example, or when your opponent's looking at your stuff on the tabletop. Kind of little changes and tweaks. I really think that theme is super important for an army. After that, I carry on mounting the rest of the bits of the kit, the track guards and the side skirts. Now, with the side skirts, I've left some of them off because I want it to look like the tank's been in battle for a while. It's been on campaign for a long time. It hasn't been properly repaired. And it also, the suspension parts of the kit are gorgeous. And you put the side skirts on and you lose a lot of that detail that I want to work on. I want to put weathering in and whatever else. I then as well, to add to that extra armour, roughly repaired quickly by the crew, I've added some checkerboard plate that I had from a mini art kit. I chopped that down and stuck that in place of some of the side skirts just to add to that interest, texture, pieces that I can weather, paint slightly differently so they stand out like they've been painted by the crew rather than whoever painted it in the factory. It's probably heresy. I probably need to go and have a word with the local commissar, but I think it looks really, really cool. Then carry on, I had the side mounted turrets. Your staple Imperial Guard kit, probably not the best place to be sitting if you are in a tank, but again, it's Imperial Guard, they don't really care about their crews, let's be entirely honest. And then I add all this extra stowage that you get from the kit, which is brilliant. There's so much additional stuff that you can add onto the side skirts of the tank and the track guards. Different options, bags, toolkits, extra fuel containers, duffel bags, ammo boxes, loads of stuff. Again, adding to that interest, showing that this tank's been out in the field for an awful long time. I might even, before I undercoat it, add some of the Games Workshop flexible foliage to look like it's got a bit of camouflage on it maybe. Again, just to tie it into that Catachan theme. And yeah, there we have it. Here is my Catachan Dorn tank. I had a lot of fun building this. An awful lot of fun fiddling about with it, converting it up. Inspired by the US Army in Vietnam. Massive shout out to the coffee crew. If you do want to support me, the link is down below. A couple of quid, you get a week early video access, various other bits if you do want to chuck us a couple of quid extra, and it helps me picking up these kits because they are quite pricey. I do also stream on Twitch if you want to come out and watch me be terrible at video games. The links again is below, and I'm on most social medias. Thank you so much for watching us. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you want to see next. And yeah, next video we're going to be painting and weathering up this bad boy and adding in some crew. Have a good one. Peace.